Hi, my name is Ron Kulas with Stay Sharp. Today we're going to continue showing sharpening broadheads with the Answer broadhead sharpening system. This time it's going to be the popular Muzzy 100 grain 3-blade. Your broadheads dull during the season, quiver, insertion, in and out, they dull. There's a lot of ways your broadheads can become dull throughout the season. If you just shoot a deer and you don't pass through and you pull the arrow out, the blades aren't bent, you want to sharpen them, you don't have to throw them away now with this system. Up until now, nobody had a sharpening system for the Muzzy 3-blade because of that bent lip on the blade. It doesn't allow it to be clamped in any sort of a clamping device. So with the Answer, we get a lot of emails for asking, do you have a sharpener for the Muzzy 3-blade? So let's get right into this. The first step is arrow insertion. So on the Muzzy 3-blade, the insertion depth to the back of the head is exactly 5 3/4 inches. I've already mounted the broadhead on the shaft. I've used the provided broadhead wrench to tighten it, brought it in, set it up, and I established that 5 3/4 inches is the exact length that you want to have exposure. You will want to start with a 1200 grit plate, and the reason for that is all you're trying to do is for your own peace of mind, whether it be the Muzzy 100 grain, the 75 grain, the MX3, any of the 3-blade heads, you want to establish that you do have the proper exposure. So slide in the 1200 grit plate, tighten it up. You don't have to tighten it up very much. Alright, now color your blade. All the blades. You'll want to color them up with marker because you're going to be doing every single blade in one setup. So I'm just going to color this one for right now to show you. So assume I've got them all colored up. I've lined up one blade with the key, and if you've read the instructions, you've seen line up at least one blade with the key. The second blade will line up with this line, look right down the center, but just eyeball it to see that you've got it right. Tighten down the screw, the thumb screw. In every case, whether it be 4-blade, 3-blade, 2-blade, you're always going to start with the hole at the top above the key. Insert the rod for the sharpening diamond grit, and you've got a couple of choices here on how you want to do this. So you can hold your hand stationary and move the broadhead back and forth. You can hold the grit in one hand, support the broadhead, and move the diamond grit back and forth. It's whatever you're comfortable. I'm finding with the 3-blade heads, I'm actually comfortable holding it right behind the ferrule and with a finger between the other 2 blades because I want to observe exactly what's going on here, and then I can slide this back and forth and attack one side of the blade. So you're going to be laying the diamond grit flat on the blade. It won't rock. So I've got good contact. When I get done with the hole above the key, right next to the A, I'm going to drop down to the other side of the blade. It's the same process. I can hold it very close to the head. Simply slide it back and forth. All right. So I'm establishing, yeah, I've got all the marker off. This head is dull, but I don't need to use 400, 800, then 1200. This is enough to get a good edge on it. Now that I've used the holes, the square holes above the key and below the key, I'll want to do this blade. I don't have to change anything with the setup. So now I'm going to go to that A circular hole on the other side. Now I'm tackling this blade. And because I'm using the A marked designator on this one, on the other side of the blade, I'm going to go to the same A on the other side. So again, I'm going to hold it right next to the head, and the same thing. Slide it back and forth. However many grits you need to use, depending on how dull you are. So now I've done both of the A settings. I've got one blade left, so now I'm going to start using B. So I'm in B here. I'm going to be on this side of the blade. Again, back and forth. When I've sharpened up that one sufficiently, all the markers are gone. If I'm in B here, I go to B on this side. Switch hands. Doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed, it works with both. And again, now I'm in the B hole. So that's really all there is for a setup. When you get done with your finest grit, in this case it happens to be 1200 grit, I'm going to slide that out. We provide this grooved surface for buffing. I'll slide that in. Again, only finger tighten. You don't need any tools, any wrenches, any pliers. We're providing the green buffing compound. All right. Rub it on there. There are grooves in the wood that are going to gather up and capture all of that buffing compound. All right, so here's the same thing. Now I'm going to start in the square hole above the key. You can hold it back by the base if you feel more comfortable with that. I like to hold it right up by the head. And in this case, I'm on this wooden surface with the buffing compound. I'm just going to use a pulling stroke. I'll pull and lift. Pull and lift. If I go forward, odds are I'm going to cut into the wood or I'm going to scrape off the buffing compound. All right. So I'm in the square hole above. I'm going to go to the square hole below, and the same thing, a pulling stroke. And don't apply much pressure. If you really bear down on this, you're going to start bending the blades. You're going to slip, you're going to cut yourself. You don't need a lot of pressure, whether you're using any of the diamond grits or the buffing surface. We're not talking about removing a lot of material. So a light stroke. Now what happens is you're going to polish this up to a mirror finish. If you're going to be doing a lot of heads, what I would recommend, say you're going to be sharpening a half dozen of the same Muzzies, and you don't want to be changing or measuring for insertion, wrap a piece of tape around the shaft. If all you shoot is Muzzy, you can use tape. If you shoot a bunch of different broadheads, you'll want to use some sort of a marker that's bright that you can see on the black shaft. Because now I'm going to take this out, and I need to use the broadhead wrench that we provide in order to get this broadhead out, because I've tightened it on here pretty good. All right. So now I can set this head aside, grab another head, put it on. Again, use the broadhead wrench. I want to tighten it good. I don't want this head slipping. And because you've put that piece of tape on there now, you don't have to guess about insertion depth. All you need to be careful of is lining up one blade with the key. So now I've got one blade lined up with the key. I've got another blade lined up with this line on the base. When I'm good, tighten it. Again, no wrenches, no pliers. These are composite parts. They're made of plastic. If you start using pliers, you're going to be breaking things. There's no need to tighten it that much. Finger tighten, it can't move. But because you've had that tape put on there, you don't have to guess on insertion depth. You can do head after head after head. And it takes very little time. We're not removing a lot of material unless your head is really, really dull. Then start using your 400 grits, your 800 grits. And that's it for the standard Muzzy 3-blade 100 grain. We'll be doing other videos on the MX3 and the Muzzy 75, other Muzzy heads. That's it for the standard Muzzy and the Stay Sharp Answer broadhead sharpening system. Thanks for watching.